Hey guys, this is Sarah. I'm just gonna adjust you slightly. I think that's the best I can do. My lighting is weird. I feel like everybody who starts a video on here says that. Also, I have had a couple of days off. I did not wind up getting brought on permanent by the bookstore I was working for, unfortunately, because they were not going to have enough jobs in receiving. So I'm taking a couple days off before I jump back into the transcription, because I realized that I hadn't actually had basically any real time off since August, and I have been working my literal ass off. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a couple days off, I'm just going to chill before I get back to it. Okay, well, I'm not quite chilling. Adjustments. There we go. I'm also taking the time. I updated my resume. I sent off a load of applications. None of that is important to most of you, because if you clicked on this link, then hopefully I have put this video up correctly. And what I'm actually doing today is a sort of a review and compare of two separate loose leaf tea brewing systems on the market right now. One is the mug style from David's Tea. In particular, I'm showing you the glass one here, which I'm a big fan of, versus the Catty brewing system from Forte. This is mine that I recently procured while working at said bookstore. It has a lid like this and an infuser basket like this. So it's pretty awesome. I was gonna show you also a third option, which is the tea infuser from Teopia, which I currently possess in my house here. Excuse me, something in my eye, probably an eyelash. Ow. Anyway, not realizing that Teopia is no longer a thing, as it's been acquired by Tivana about 2 years ago. But as neither of those things seem to exist in the Maritimes at the moment, although I could be wrong, I am not aware of either of those stores being here. I know Teopia wasn't. I think Tivana probably will be. Like, we have a few small tea houses that will actually sell you their tea around here, and we have a lot of, like, cafes that do their own blends. And I think probably sell Tivana products, but I don't know for sure. But as far as I know, no specific, like, Tivana locations. But again, I could be wrong. I didn't look into it too much because I don't have any of their merchandise, and I have not personally walked into a Tivana, myself. So I wanted to tell you guys about this because I'm really enjoying loose leaf tea. It's kind of my favorite way to branch out because you can get some really interesting mixes, and with very specific reasons. For instance, recently, for me, I don't usually sleep very well. I do occasionally suffer from long bouts of, like, insomnia. It's not like insomnia. It's kind of quite insomnia. Not as bad as some people that I know who will just not sleep for days. Thankfully, I haven't had anything like that in a couple of years. Touch wood. Although I have had bouts like that where I just haven't been able to sleep for days on end. No idea why. Stress, depression, my body hates me. God only knows. Like, who knows? But, so over the Christmas holiday, I was drinking a chamomile and valerian root blend from David's Tea. It's also, like, got peppermint and some other things in there, called Mother's Little Helper. It's really nice. I'm just gonna... there we go. Now it's more white. I feel like that's not causing me to be a weird color. I'm probably wrong. I don't know. So yeah, as far as the tea blends, I like David's tea. I'm gonna say right now, I like David's tea because it has its own shop. I can go in and they'll usually have one or two different blends on that you can actually try, which is actually how I came to fall in love with what I'm brewing up right now, which is their chili chocolate chai, which is really nice. And it's great because it just tastes like sort of like a chili chocolate with a little bit of like something else in there. It's really nice without being like crazy. So just a brief explanation, if you're not aware of what like a tea brewing system like this is, so basically what happens is you have what looks like a standard mug. This one in particular is made of glass. I feel like it's very helpful for this demonstration. Then they will come with an infuser basket, like so. They're not all shaped like this, which is why I'm doing this little comparison. And then they'll usually come with some kind of lid to insulate. This is not necessarily important for like black teas, which you typically steep at around the boiling point. Typically, most of them are listed with instructions at 98 degrees Fahrenheit, not quite 100. Typically that means almost boiling, but not at a rolling boil. Or, you know, let it come to a boil and then leave it alone for a couple of minutes and let it cool down. I know especially some of my green teas, they don't have necessarily, because I don't have a thermometer for that sort of thing, one of mine just has an instruction that just says, you know, just try it, like just boil the water and then leave it for a few minutes and then sort of steep it for a few minutes. It all depends. Every tea is different, but especially when you're doing a green tea or even a white tea where it's supposed to be kept at a lower temperature, this is really helpful because the lid, as I said, insulates it and keeps it at that perfect temperature. I apologize, there's something weird going on with my mouth right now. Okay, anyway. So, the difference is, literally, for these two things overall, like I said, I have the Teopia version upstairs. I also have another one of these, but in the ceramic. The biggest difference for most of them is the basket. This is the tea infusing basket that David's Tea sells. There's other tea infusers. I'm going by the mug system because for me, like, this is the most reasonable. Otherwise, we're starting to get into, like, different... I mean, thank God. So the infuser baskets will fit some of their teapots. They won't fit all of them. It's like, it's crazy. So you'll have specific for each pot, and you get slow infusers, like basket infusers with a sort of a drop action, plunger style. It gets crazy. Most people that I know do the mug. You get a lot of control with the mug. You're not over steeping with the mug. One mug at a time, it's not getting too cold. It's a good system. It's good and it's accessible. So, first off, like I said, basket shape. This is a more cylindrical thing. And just to see if you can see, it is perforated. As you can tell, I think, it is highly perforated. My biggest issue is the fact that because it's a cylinder, it can be very hard to clean because it's difficult to sort of, when you've steeped your tea, you take this out. This is universal also to these mug style systems. The lid also will usually serve as a sort of spot to put the tea basket. Very helpful. In this, it collects the water in this sort of empty space on the lid. And And when you're done, you just dispose of the leaves, and then you wipe this out, and you give it a little rinse, probably, so no, leaves get stuck to it and dry on and go weird and crunchy. The other thing is, technically, the mugs from David's Tea, I'm pretty sure, don't, especially this one, said hand wash only. This is stainless steel, this is glass, that was a Cylon. The biggest thing, especially with this, was just because David's Tea was etched onto the bottom. It hasn't hurt this to go in the dishwasher whatsoever. It hasn't hurt this to go in the dishwasher whatsoever. It literally, I think, is just because of the way that they put their logo on. Okay? And I had a look at the Teavana site, and a lot of what they sell for tea infusers, the basket style, is very similar. They had a lot of different kinds of mugs. It didn't look like their mugs come with the infuser basket. I could be wrong. I couldn't tell. David's Tea, it comes with the infuser. It's a whole system. I should say, as it is a whole system, this here, I'm sorry, I have my notes literally written right here. Alright. The David's Tea mug with infuser basket. This is a 12 fluid ounce size. Is $19.50, and the infuser alone with a spare lid, which looked like it was just made of like ceramic or possibly wood. I couldn't tell from the photo. Just that by itself with a spare lid is $12.50. So if you're like, literally, I don't really like any of their mugs, I just want to use my own mugs, they'll sell you just a lid. Doesn't look like this. It just looks like sort of like ceramic. But one of these infuser baskets, and that for $12.50. Now, moving on to the Forte Caddy system. I bought mine through Chapters. I actually managed to get this on an end of season sale because this particular mug was being sold in a set with some tea samples, some single shot tea samples. So I got 10 sachets of loose leaf tea and this, and it was marked down to $13.50. Now, their standard list price on Chapters Indigo website for the caddy system by itself is $14.99 on the Chapters website, $15.99 on their own website, but I managed to get it in a kit, as I said, for even cheaper than that, because it was their fall collection teas with it, which, as it stands right now, the Tea Forte teas I've tried are really nice. I liked most of them. One of them was a particularly strong chai. I'm not necessarily usually a chai drinker, so it's kind of one of those things where once you start talking about the tea, it's your preference. As a rule, from what I'm seeing, like a box of their loose leaf tea from Tea Forte at Chapters is about $8.50, so it seems like the tea itself and that sort of stuff is a little bit more expensive than David's Tea as a rule, but it also seems like there's more than if you're just getting the packets. I didn't research the weights. Depending on the tea that you're getting, everything's going to be different. I think that is the big deal. If you're doing loose leaf tea, you're going to have your favorites. You're going to have different things in the area, like once you start getting that complicated. Personally, I'm like I like this tea flavor. This only comes in loose leaf tea. I don't know. It is what it is. So this is the caddy system. The lid looks like this. They didn't have, that I saw, any glass mugs in this style. The big difference is all of the mugs in the caddy system are handleless. The basket looks like this. I won't tip it around too much because obviously I have been steeping tea. As I said, chocolate chili chai. If I can talk about the basket for a second, let me grab this. I'll bring you nice and close. As you can see, it's more of a sort of a dome shape with a very flat top like this and this sort of hook design, so it hooks onto the edge of the cup. I really like this. My only worry is that this is not, like, if I just whack this into most of my normal mugs, it's going to sort of hang funny. I don't think it's going to be supported as nicely because in the caddy system mug, I'm just going to put that there for a minute. I'm getting out of frame, but I'm going to keep jabbering. Woohoo! I'll just show you really briefly if I can. There we go. In the caddy system mug, you can see that lip there where the basket sort of sits. I'm pretty sure that stops it from tipping. Unfortunately, it also makes it kind of easy to overfill because the problem is loose leaf tea, as you're brewing it, blooms, becomes larger. It can become very easy to, you know, kind of spill tea leaves into your tea, and it's, or whatever else is in your particular tea infusion, and a little annoying. This tea is good though. So, the biggest differences, like I said, are the infusers, obviously the price. The caddy system is a little bit cheaper. If you want to get it in stores, you can get it from Chapters. Now, that said, I was just looking at the online price. I would say, I'm trying to remember, in store, I think it might have been $19.50. I was looking at the online price for both. I don't think that Caddy has stores of its own. Also, I do not remember getting tea free with my mug from David's Tea at all. But what I do know is, the $14.99, like, that's the website price, so that could be wrong. But physically, I bought this in the store. This was not an online price. This I bought in the store a couple days ago for $13.50. And yeah, so that was a thing. It was cheap. I was very pleased with it. It's a nice mug. Everything in the caddy system very clearly says dishwasher and microwave safe. Obviously, the metal basket, not microwave safe. That would be crazy. Also, should you want to get the infuser alone? So, this infuser basket, if anything happens to yours and you need to replace it, you would literally just be buying this. You wouldn't be buying, like, this little part of the mug. So you wouldn't be buying the lid. But, that said, this is only $4.50. I'm fairly certain if you're really, really bothered, you can probably find tea strainers for cheaper. Just the basket sort of style without the handle, when I looked on Teavana, was, I want to say about $10 when I just had a look. $9.95. And their mugs were between $9 and $12. But like I said, I couldn't tell whether or not it came with an infuser. It seems ridiculous that they wouldn't come with an infuser. But then again, that's the average price for most mugs. So this is like not this isn't, I mean, it is a mug, but like you're buying it for the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, overall, I have to say the one thing that I really like about the caddy system overall Granted, you have to be more careful when you're brewing, but what I love is this dome shape because it makes cleanup literally the easiest thing in the world. You just have one paper towel, one swipe into the bowl, all of your tea leaves are gone, rinse her out for the last few flecks, and you're good to go for your next cup. Obviously, rinse your mug. Whereas the David's tea, like, it's really annoying. There's, like, a seam in there. Sometimes the paper towel rips. I'm not being overly dramatic about this. It's a pain. It's just the shape of how the thing is. And it's narrow enough that it's really difficult to sort of get your fingers in there to sort of scrape the sides. And also the way that the seam, now I'm being picky, but the way that the seam lines up. So if you're a right-handed person like me, oh no, okay. Yeah, no, I suppose. But yeah, you sort of have to get your, if it makes, I'll just show you. Please don't make this be the thumbnail. But you sort of have to get your hand in there, you have to sort of scoop around, and there's a couple of like sharp spots because this is several pieces of metal brought together, whereas the other one is just like a metal mesh basket, and thankfully, after years and years of making fine sieves, that system has been perfected, whereas this is a little not the same. So, overall, it's sort of one of those things. I like the ease of clean of the caddy system. That's really great, but I really love how universal the David's tea is, because this fits on a majority of my mugs except for my large mugs. This does not fit on my cow mug, which makes me unhappy. But it does fit a majority of my mugs, and because of the way it's shaped, because of how sort of deep it is, my tea leaves never usually come past here, even if it's one that really blooms up really big. I haven't had an overflow issue with this, where I have with the caddy system. So it's all about how easily annoyed you are by that sort of thing. In general, I like them both. I kind of like the caddy system a little bit more just because now I know if I can find those packages that are not seasonal, then yeah, it's really great. Also, there are other infusers that Forte does, such as their mesh pyramid drop thing. You'd have to look on their website, but they do a few things, but what I really like is that their products will go on sale at quite a nice reduction, because if they're doing anything that they consider seasonal, especially if it's being sold through chapters, it's going to get a pretty good markdown, anywhere between 25 and 50%. Sometimes if it's really, really seasonal, if it was anything, for instance, with like a snowman or like a snowflake, where you could definitely say, oh, this is very Christmassy, it can often go up to like 75%. This is obviously more, less seasonal, really, I should have said. But it was really great to get a system. You know, you get the mug, you get the infuser, you get some of their teas to try, because their teas are really, really nice. And the other thing is that this mug is sort of like, the ceramic is really thick in the actual cup portion, so I have not once so far since using it missed a handle. It's totally fine. It's been totally comfortable to hold on, even from boiling water, which is why I went with a roasted mate, because it can go to the boiling temperature. And it was totally fine to hold in my hand, whereas, you know, it's sometimes, especially with that glass, when it can be a bit like, the handle is not that conductive. And that's probably the only complaint that I have about this glass mug. Like, I love it and it's really pretty. Over the ceramic ones, it does lose the heat pretty quickly, especially if you're not using the lid. I mean, the other thing is, obviously, if you have your cup of tea and you're like, you clean your basket out right away, you're like, this is my last cup of the night, blah blah blah, whatever. When you're done steeping it, if you're still getting stuff ready for bed or whatever, you can just put your lid on and it'll just stay a lot warmer. And that is the last benefit that I think from these actual brewing systems, where you get that lid and it keeps the heat in, and it keeps the heat in really, really well. So, my overall impressions, generally, for my tea, I like David's better, I'm gonna say, just because they have the shop there, so obviously you can check out the tea. A lot of times they'll have something really nice to sample, as I said. For the actual equipment itself, when it's on sale, I really prefer the Forte system. It's beautiful, feels solid. It doesn't feel overly heavy, which is nice. And it's actually stated as being dishwasher safe. That is always a bonus. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I gotta say on that, guys. Obviously, let me know what you think. If you have any general opinions, maybe you do know what the whole system is like with Teavana, which would be very interesting to know. And also, if you have a really awesome recommendation for a loose leaf tea that I should try, I would really appreciate that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Okay,